Good morning, good morning, good morning. Come on in the room with me this morning. I'm excited to be here with you for another edition of Freedom Friday. Come on in the room. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Come on in the room. Greet me when you come in so I can know that you're here because I want to speak to you this morning. Have a little technical difficulty, but let me pull up. I had a few minutes. Okay, here we go. Good morning, Saint. Good morning, Nolita. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm about a few minutes late because I had a little technical difficulty, but we're glad to be back in this space called Freedom Friday. I'm so excited today about, first of all, I want to thank God this morning that He woke me up this morning. He gave me a reasonable portion of life, health, and strength. So we're live this morning on all our platforms. So I don't know if you like, share, and tag someone in this post because I believe this is going to be monumental for all of us. So I'm gonna dive right into it because I don't want to belabor the time. But one thing I've heard growing up, and we heard a lot since I've gotten older: learn to move in silence. Learn to move in silence. You know, to some degree, moving in silence can be very good. But there are times when moving in silence can be very detrimental to your health. Um, Whenever you move in silence, uh, you silence your own opportunity to have access to open doors. Sometimes we keep everything sometimes bottled in, and we don't want to give people access to our emotions, our feelings, what we're going through. But what I realized as I've gotten older, I need people to know what I'm going through so you can pray with me and for me. We often negate the fact that the power that we have is in our mouth. So whenever the enemy can keep you silent to what's going on around you, he keeps you locked into your own thoughts, your own ideas, your own beliefs. And then before you know, he starts playing with your mind. He starts telling you stuff and you start to believe it. That's what the Bible says to us, that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. That word means you got to speak it out loud. You got to speak it in the atmosphere. My brother Mark Moore in Atlanta, Georgia, is a phenomenal faith person. They purchased a church a couple of weeks ago, and he said they're going to do these phases debt free. And I thank God that I've been an opportunity to sow into that project. It's been an amazing project. But the one thing he said that's blessed me since he started this in last October, he says, speak it out loud. He said, because you never know who will sow into you. You'll never know who will speak into your life. But whenever you keep silent about the things you need God to do for you and with you, that's the time when you need to open up your mouth and speak it out in the atmosphere. So he's been speaking out loud. And I tell you, God has been moving on his behalf. He's been sending people to pour into their project. And so I've been so inspired by him just speaking out loud the things that he needs God to do for him. And I said, God, what is it that he got that I'm missing? And the Lord said to me, he said, Erica, he has faith to believe even when he can't see it. Now I know some of you listening to this morning, you got all the faith in the world. I mean, faith ain't your problem. But I know sometimes I can say without a doubt, I struggle with faith sometimes because I'm trying to figure it out, help God out in the process. And all God's saying to me, I don't need your help. I need for you to do the things I've called you to do and the things I've commanded you to do. So I need you to get into the routine, put in the chat, speak it out loud. Speak it out loud. Because whenever you begin to repetitiously repeat that over and over, the enemy, number one, cannot hold things over your head. He cannot keep you bondage because you now have spoke in the atmosphere what you need, what you desire, and what you hope will come to pass. And whenever you begin to speak these things out loud, God will begin to manifest them in your life, and He'll begin to speak these things that be not as though they were. But in Esther 4, 13, it says, Mordecai told the messenger to reply to Esther, don't think that you will escape the fate of all the Jews because you are in the king's palace. He says, if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will come to the Jewish people from another place. But you and your father's family will be destroyed. Who knows? Perhaps you have come to this royal position for such a time as this. Now, notice the text says that those that keep silent at this time, they will get relief and deliverance from another place. Not the place that God has called them, not the God that they've been praying to, but deliverance will come from some other entity that's not connected to your faith. And whenever you see things as such in the Bible as this, it said another place. That means that's a place that's disconnected from God. Because I don't want to be in another place, but I want to be in the perfect and permissive will of God. Whenever you're moving in silence, whenever you're moving according to the will and the plan of God, God will begin to speak into the atmosphere, those things. And the thing that I love about God, He will dispatch the angels to carry your petition to where it needs to go. He will begin to speak into the atmosphere to carry you to where you need to go. You know, sometimes we don't even have the strength to carry ourselves. But what I've learned, when I place it in the hands of the master, He'll carry it to where it needs to be. So I don't want you to remain in silence, but how you break your silence is you begin to speak it in the atmosphere. The Bible says that life and death is in the power of your tongue. And God used a lot of references of using our mouth to speak those things as not as though they were. Um, God didn't design us God didn't design us to be in silence, but He designed us to speak. There are times when you need to remain silent. Let's be clear. I'm not saying that everything that God gives you that you're supposed to speak. Sometimes God will give you things for you to pray about. And then when the season and time comes, you'll speak that in the atmosphere. But when you remain silent, listen to this. Number one, people will think you're an arrogant person. Number two, people will think that you are a shy person. Number three, people will not be friends with you because it is difficult for them to understand and know you. Number four, people will use for their own purposes because a quiet person is usually a good person. And number five, people will terrorize and bully you because they know you won't fight back. But I need to say this right here. Don't let that, what I just gave you, be said among you. You need to put yourself in a position that I may be silent now, but I won't be silent forever. I may not have the opportunity now, but I do know the opportunity is going to come back around. Why? Because if God did it before, He can do it again. But what God is waiting on you to do, He's waiting for you to speak it out loud. Put it into the atmosphere, the things that you need God to do. I need for you to declare today that I will no longer sit in silence. That I will begin to speak into the atmosphere, the things that God has called me to do, the things I desire to do. The Bible says that He said we are to cast down imagination and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. And so whenever you begin to speak the thing into the atmosphere, you no longer give the enemy a stronghold over you. Why? Because you done pulled down the strongholds and he's in the atmosphere. But God can send the angels to block what was trying to attack your mind. God will put an angel. The Bible says He'll put a hedge fence of protection around you. That means He's going to cover you from the crown of your head to the very sole of your feet. So don't you sit in silence when you need God to do something for you. Whenever you need God to move on your behalf, you need to begin to speak it in the atmosphere and let somebody else grab by faith. If you can't believe it for God in the atmosphere right now, speak it out loud. So God, allow my faith to rise to a place that I can receive what you have for me. because this what you've given me only is a God thing. And I cannot do this without you. So whenever you need God to do something, you need to speak it out loud. You need to proclaim that God, you're going to give me an opportunity for this thing to come back around again. And number three, I need God to move. So I got to speak it out loud. I just speak it out loud. You might have to scream it out, speak it out, but whatever you do, I need for you to get it out because I don't need for you to sit in silence when God is trying to do something on your behalf. I believe that my faith is going to rise today. Why? Because I put into the atmosphere what I need God to do. And one thing about me, whenever I need God to do something in my life, there's two things that I do. I sow a seed and I intensify my prayer life. One of my former residents yesterday, I met her. I was picking me up some food from a restaurant yesterday. And she said, Miss Erica, do you remember when you adopted my daughter for Christmas? I was like, I remember, but I couldn't remember her name. And she said, this blessed me so for you adopted my child for Christmas several years ago. She's now a correction officer here in Greensboro, doing well for herself, 28 years old. And you never know when God will use you to do something. And I've been gone from the Greensboro Housing Authority since 2007. And so you can see that God will still send people to remind you of the good that you've done. So don't let the enemy tell you that God can't do it. Oh, he'll do it. And he'll do it so that the enemy cannot come in and send a spirit of disbelief. Because you know this is the Lord's doing and it's marvelous in his eyes. So I need for you this weekend, begin to speak it out loud, declare it in the atmosphere that God's going to do it. And when he's going to do it, he's going to do it right now. I thank you for tuning in this morning to Freedom Friday. I pray this has blessed your life as it has blessed mine this morning. And whatever you do, speak it out loud in the atmosphere. I tell you that God is up to something and he's up to something big. So I need for you to stay tapped in and begin to hear the voice of God so that you can know that whatever God is doing in the atmosphere, it has your name on it. He has your name on it. Yes, no leader. He has your name on it. So don't you get discouraged. Don't you walk away before God can perform what he declared he was going to do. This is a year of manifestation. This is a year of answered prayers. This is a year of release. Whatever you need God to do in 24, he's going to do it. And he's going to do it when you speak it out loud. If no one's told you today, let me be the first to tell you I love you. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Live life and live life on purpose. Have a blessed Friday. We'll see you next Friday if it's the Lord's will.